Hi everybody, how you doing? Happy Tuesday. Tracing Roots and Telling Tales Tuesdays, Genealogy with Donna. I'm coming on early this morning. It is cold in here. It's 50 degrees. And I'm getting out and getting back into the house where we had the furnace fixed yesterday for a pretty penny. But now all of the parts over the last 2 years have been replaced. Other than it's dusty, we're all good. It should last us through the winter, no problem. We'll have maintenance happening next fall so that we can continue having nice, warm weather. Though I can say that the fire that Mike had in the fireplace yesterday to keep us warm until the technician got here to fix the furnace was a lovely fire and kept us wonderfully warmed. And I did make cookies and turnovers yesterday so that it would keep the oven warm. There are certain things that we can do in this particular house to keep things warm until things get repaired. And when you don't realize it's happening, it turned out that the voltage to continue the pilot generation was not producing the voltage that was necessary. It was producing a voltage of 217 and it needed 250. So interesting things that we don't know that goes on under the house. Fun times. I have a correction to make from last week, and I apologize the erroneous information. I was talking about my grandfather and his World War I draft card, and it listed wife. Now, it didn't list, this was in 1917. It did not list a name, and it just said wife as the person to contact. Well, I should have realized as I was speaking, and it didn't dawn on me, my grandparents didn't marry until 1919. So whatever wife, I believe, is the lady that I found a marriage certificate in Boston. I found documentation of a marriage certificate in Boston, and I'm trying to find divorce papers. I don't know that they exist. But they weren't married. My grandparents were married in Rhode Island. They were not married in Massachusetts. So I don't know if that's why they were living in Boston. I don't know a lot of that information. It's like you're thinking about it and it clicks, wait a minute. Those dates don't match from what I know. And so you go back and it's a rabbit hole. Every single time you go to connect things that you're thinking about that you thought you saw, and then what you have as documentation, you wind up going down a huge rabbit hole and you don't surface for 2 or 3 hours. So I couldn't dedicate that kind of time right now to that. But I did reconfirm some other things. Interestingly enough, we were back in Hartford, Connecticut, switching to the Walton side of my family, which is actually the Archambault side because the Walton and Archambault married and produced my father. In finding an obituary in newspapers.com, I found an Arthur Archambault, which my father is named after. He had been living, and I don't remember where, but his body was brought back on the train when he passed away. I had the opportunity to go to the cemetery, and I need to confirm whether or not this is the same cemetery, where my grandfather and my grandmother are buried on the Walton side. And it just was by a fluke. I've told that story where I walked up to the house that was listed on my dad's work permit, knocked on the door, asked the lady if any Waltons lived there. It turned out it had been reconstructed into a triplex, and so there were no Waltons there. It had been sold off. But because of the location of the house, we were able to discern what church, Catholic church, was in the vicinity for them to go to. And then when I went to the church, they told me what cemetery that I could go to find my relatives. But in this particular obituary, it does say where the burial took place, that it was at St. Joseph's cemetery, which would have been, I believe, outside of Hartford. So I have got to go back and see if that's true. I missed being able to take a picture of him. The Archambos and the Waltons might not have been married or buried quite at the same place. You know, it wasn't a huge family plot. Perhaps, well, it wasn't. It was 4 graves. So I've got more research to do on that one. I'm going to find time to do. We are getting snow now, so I don't know if we're going to lose electricity too. Another reason to have a gas fireplace, or a fireplace and a gas-only furnace. Anyway, so switching from the Archambos to some information that Jody had given me about Bertha, my great-grandmother, and it dawned on me in the shower this morning as I was thinking about her and what her life must have been like. I am 75. She lived to be 96. She's lived, so from my age right now, she lived another 21 years. Oh my goodness sakes, do you wonder what happened in those 21 years? Very interesting. Anyway, so the man that she lived with and adopted his name. Now, I can't find a marriage certificate. It doesn't mean they weren't married. It just means that I can't find the documentation yet. That's always a word with a genealogist, is yet. Because if you haven't found it, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So right now, Jody was able to give me obituary for Stedman. His name was Stedman J. Engel. So Stedman died at 72 in 1952. Stedman was a veteran of the Spanish-American War. I need to go see if I can find some documentation on that. He also had 3 children at the time of his death, a son and 2 daughters. Those were not children he had with my great-grandmother. What else? It did say she was his widow. So, as we all know with obituaries, it's not proof that they were married. It just says, it's like a death certificate. The information on a death certificate is only as good as the person who gave the information to the mortuary for the death certificate. So the parents' names could be wrong. The date of birth or the year could be wrong if it's not from someone who personally knew them. So that's, interesting, or didn't have the birth certificate with them at the time that they were filling out the paperwork. Anyway, so it says that she's a widow of Stedman. It also says that he has 3 children. I will investigate that. And she was 79. Now, there were 2 things that were, you kind of hear as a child. You're not allowed to sit in on the conversations of adults. Children are to be seen and not heard. I am from that generation. That's not my mind. That's how I was raised. Anyway, so you didn't sit in on conversations that adults were having. But I do remember something about they didn't think they were married. And I don't know who this conversation is with, but I remember that conversation. And that it was scandalous because she was 7 years older. So isn't that interesting? Now I don't think it's a big deal. Anyway, so that was all caught up in my thinking this morning as I was cuddled down into the covers because it was cold. And I was cold all day yesterday until the furnace got fixed. So so cold, and you can tell I'm bundled up. I'm probably going to be cold for all winter. Anyway, so that's the information that I need to investigate. I've got all week to be able to do that. And hopefully next Tuesday, I will be able to give you some answers. In the meantime, I will also give you answers about, I believe this is my great-grandfather, Arthur Archambault. It could be my great-great-grandfather, grandfather. I can't remember. The Archambos are everywhere, so I'm not quite sure. But I will clear all of that up next week. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. It's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. I believe we're going to have spaghetti tonight because it's nice and warm. And we have it with hot sausage, Italian sausage. So that works out. Otherwise, stay warm, stay dry, and have fun. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.